show you how to cook small lobster tails and make them delicious every time. A 3-ounce to a 6-ounce lobster tail is what I consider small, but it's very easy to cook it up very deliciously. I have a number of ingredients on this counter that we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to use them all. So you can use fresh lemons or the squirt bottle lemon juice. You can use salted or unsalted butter or ghee. I like organic clarified butter, but it's really expensive, so I don't always use it if I'm using a lot of seasonings that will mask the clarity of the ghee that I paid for. A number of dry seasonings here that you can choose from. I don't use them all at one time, so you could use garlic powder, onion powder, salt, black pepper, smoked paprika, mild paprika, and seafood seasoning. I don't recommend you use salt if you're going to use seafood seasoning because that usually has salt as a main ingredient. And don't forget, I do rinse off my lobster shells in case there's any dirt or debris or ice crystals from it not thawing out 100% before I rinse it off in cool water. This will help to get it thawed. Then I do make sure I dry each one off carefully with either a paper towel or a clean kitchen towel. And you want to be careful because the bottom parts of the lobster shells are very sharp and can hurt you. This was one set of lobster tails I did. This was the other set. You'll notice the shells will look a little differently, but I'm going to show you two different methods. The first method I'm going to show you is how to butterfly a lobster tail, which I've showed on my channel, but you can absolutely do it with a small 3 or 4 ounce lobster tail. First, step 1, crack the back by squeezing the two bottom sides together. I find it helps my lobster tails to not curl up as much. Step 2 is to use kitchen shears to cut down the middle, top of the shell without cutting too much into the meat or the end flapper. Step 3 is to gently pry the meat from the inside of the shell. During the cooking process, the proteins will naturally try to adhere to the shell, so it'll be easier if you detach it in the beginning. I do like to stick a finger underneath the bottom of the meat to help lift it out of the shell, and then you kind of use your left hand to squeeze the two sides of the shell together and then lay the meat on top. The fourth step is to clean the vein out of the middle if you see it, and look at this second one. It does have a big black vein in it, so sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't. And notice sometimes it isn't stable when you sit it down because the shell is light, so just squeeze it together and lay the meat gently on top. The second method is what I call a split lobster tail. As you can see here, the shell is split and wide and open, and that's just it. So we're going to do the previous 3 steps by cracking the back, splitting the shell open, and gently prying the meat from the inside of the shell with your finger, and put a finger in the back or the bottom of the lobster to help lift it through the top back that we split open. And you want to spread each side of the lobster shell open as I'm showing here without breaking off any pieces. And to clean it, you could rinse off the lobster meat, but I prefer to get a paper towel and just pick off the excess pieces of broken shell that are there. Set that to the side and then get a microwavable safe dish and put in about 4 tablespoons of butter. Put in 1 or 2 teaspoons of lemon juice and about a tablespoon of your seafood seasoning. That will make a delicious blend that we're going to melt in our microwave. I have an aluminum pan that I wash with soap and water before using, and I am using this instead of a glass pan because I don't like to bake my glass at high heat in case I decide to broil this. Put a 1/2 inch of water in there to help give moisture as we cook our lobster tails. And this is what the split lobster tail looks like, the 2 on the left, and then the 2 on the right are butterflied. Now I do have my butter melted in the microwave. If you use a brush, don't double dip the brush if you touch your raw lobster meat and decide to use this butter sauce at the end. So just pour some of the butter sauce in a separate container to drizzle over the raw lobster meat. And you'll notice it wasn't that dark, so I decided to add some smoked paprika because this doesn't contain sodium, so I didn't want to add more Old Bay because that does have salt. If you don't want to use paprika on your seafood, don't do it. You can absolutely do what you want. I am taking the time to add butter with the brush onto the shell because sometimes the shell can get dry spots, especially because I have some dry seasoning on it. I like this red color seasoning because it will add a beautiful color as it cooks in the oven. But you can absolutely cook delicious lobster without it. It's just my personal choice. We're going to bake these small lobster tails for 12 to 15 minutes at 400 degrees if your oven is perfect, or you can check them at the 10-minute mark and then decide to broil them for 1 or 2 minutes like I did. After 10 minutes, this is how how my lobster tails looked. There was still some dark spots from the shell not turning red all the way from cooking, and the meat was a little bit lighter than I wanted. So I put it on broil for another minute or two because look at what my oven was. When I had it on bake 400, it didn't get over what, 360, 365 degrees. This is why your cook time might be different than a stated recipe that you read. But look at the beautiful result I got after broiling it for an extra minute or two. So it cooked for a total of 12 or 13 minutes. I'm moving some of my butter sauce that wasn't contaminated with the raw meat into my serving dish, and I'm just giving it a quick stir, and I'm drizzling it over my cooked lobster tails because if a little butter is good, a lot is better, right? I like to serve this with fresh parsley, sliced lemon, and I also do add dry parsley on top. It adds a nice greenery on top, but all of the garnish is completely optional. This lobster is so delicious. It could be the main course. These are small, so you may want to serve a few if it's the main dish, or it could be a side accompaniment to steak or pasta or a salad. Please check out my date night and my seafood playlist and my soul food playlist and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.